Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, it's so great to see all these faces. Okay, hi. For those of you who may not know me, Western Pennsylvania, I am joined by my colleagues Lauren O'Neill and Beth Aponitis, and I can't see everyone to know exactly who else is on, but we are so thrilled to have a program like this, which it's tied to Parkinson's disease, but it's something special. It's more like the arts and mental health and design for your mind. And we are thrilled to introduce you to Annie Guest. Annie Guest, I was teasing her earlier this morning that I describe her as multi-degreed. She is an attorney. She's a mental health therapist, and we now find that she's also a really great designer and has transformed her home. She's familiar with Parkinson's disease, and she was a caregiver for both of her parents. And she's a dear, dear friend of the Parkinson Foundation, Western Pennsylvania. So this is just, bringing it full circle. In terms of today, I'm going to mute everyone. And Annie has a slideshow that she's going to walk through. And so um, Lauren, Beth, and I are going to be monitoring the chat. Please put your questions in the chat. If your question comes in and it pertains to what Anne is talking about right then, we will find a way to get it incorporated right then. But we don't want to have too many disruptions if it's not on topic. And then there will be time for questions at the end as well. One important thing is that we found out through setting up this registration that there are many people who want to participate and cannot because they can't do it during the day. And Anne came back and said, I want to keep this lively and informative and engaging. So instead of 6 sessions of different topics, we are going to do 3 sessions in 1 hour chunks. And there's 2 hours in this week. We'll have 1 hour session with Anne. Next week, we'll have another hour session with Anne. That's the first chunk. The second chunk is a 1 hour session with Anne. And the next week is another hour session with Anne. And it'll be pretty much the same run through. But the second chunk will be hosted at 5:30 p.m. so that those who can't attend during the day may attend. And then we'll do it again at the noon hour or 1 o'clock hour for those last 2 weeks. So if you can, we'll record them all and you can jump in and out. You can attend all of the 3 chunks. You can manage this any way you want. If you start incorporating her ideas and you find you need another question for Annie Guest, come on in. Lastly, I want to say that although Annie is a mental health therapist, we are recording this. So be careful that you are cognizant of the fact that this is being recorded and, don't share anything that you don't want other people to know. And we can think about other ways to use her mental health therapy background outside of a recorded program. Um, so with that, oh, somebody else just came. I am going to actually, Beth, can you mute everyone?
They are muted. Let me double check.
It's different on a phone than it is on a.
Yeah, everyone's muted. That includes everyone, even the speaker. And you. Unmute.
And you will need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
Done.
No, we talked about this, so we're good. So Anne, I'm going to turn it over to you. Anne is going to share her screen.
Okay.
Yay.
Can everybody see?
Yes, you may. There, that's perfect. You're good to go.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I want to emphasize a point that Christine made. Even though I am a mental health therapist, this is not a therapy session. It, quite aside from the fact that it's being taped and you can have no expectation of confidentiality, I am not functioning for purposes of this session as a mental health therapist. So this is not for that purpose. And if we're all comfortable with that, we can proceed. First, let me ask you all if you could register your questions to Beth and Lauren. Is it Beth? Would Beth be taking the questions?
Yep, I'm paying attention to the chat right now. So
Okay.
if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a button to hit for chat. If you
Okay.
don't see the chat right now, but you can type your questions there, and I will let Annie know if there is something that we need to ask now, or we can wait till the end as well to ask.
Okay. Thank you. Here are questions to keep in mind. Is there a room in your house that you really would like some ideas for redesigning? That's one question. Is there a room that you would like to repurpose to help you care for your loved one more effectively? And are you looking for ideas to accomplish that? Are you currently involved in caregiving responsibilities and need suggestions or some support for self-care activities? Are you hoping to find ways to redesign at least one room in your house to help you take better care of yourself? These are questions that you can be asking yourself, pondering, and you can send your thoughts during the course of this presentation, and we can stop and answer them because these are really important questions. I am a former family caregiver. My dad had Parkinson's and my mom eventually developed dementia, and I lived next door to them. I'm the oldest child and obviously a daughter, and a lot of the expectations for that care fell to me. I found the experience rewarding and a privilege, and I adored my parents. But the experience came with some costs. I had so little control over my time and personal privacy and social life and ability to think that I started to lose connection with myself. And I could see what was happening, but even with my training as a mental health therapist, I didn't recognize that I was burning out. I simply didn't understand somehow that the flat affect, the emotional numbness that I was experiencing was about burnout, and I blamed myself for it. But I was overeating, I was under exercising, I was exhausted, I was sleepwalking. I think part of the reason I wasn't even exercising the thinking that would have helped me identify the burnout was that I was just too exhausted to think that constructively. But when my parents passed away, they left the house to me, and I decided to use my lifelong passion for interior design and what I understood as a mental health therapist to renovate the house in ways that would help me to recharge and become myself again. So a lot of the pictures I took, which you'll see as before pictures in this slideshow and in the book, I really took in order to upload them on the Benjamin Moore website as I experimented with paint colors. And then eventually, in the process of this renovation, it occurred to me that there were so many other people in this situation, so many people in this caregiver cohort, that it might be good for me to capture what I was learning and put it into a book so that other people would have a head start when they went on with their own lives. So this is our book. This is the book that was published in the beginning of February of this year. And we are going into the house now. This is the foyer as it was before. When you walk through the front door, there is an accent wall, and everything lies behind that accent wall, but that is the foyer. I wanted to turn the foyer into something that was exciting, that kind of promised interesting things on the other side of the wall. I didn't think that this before situation accomplished that. So I started thinking one huge advantage of that I enjoyed during this process was Pinterest. I don't know if all of you were familiar with Pinterest or use it yourselves, but it's a free service. It allows you to go online and create boards for every room in the house if this is what you want to use it for, and just start collecting ideas, collecting other people's ideas, getting inspiration, and just sorting them onto these boards for the respective rooms. It was a long time after my parents passed away that I could even begin work on the house, because for well over a year, my sister and I were just sorting through the contents and just wading through books and clothing and all kinds of items, and working with the auctioneer and the appraiser and distributing to the siblings. And in the meantime, I kind of kept myself energized by engaging in this creative act of collecting ideas on Pinterest. And I was so thankful for that. And collecting ideas for paint colors on the Benjamin Moore website long before I could execute any physical activity in the redesign of these rooms. So what I finally came up with for this foyer is very simple. Tell me, when I put my cursor up to this pole, are you seeing a cursor? Oh, so I have a little pointer. Okay. This is a curtain rod. Very, very simple. I don't know if you've seen people put wall hangings up and they sag in the middle. It looks really sad. I didn't want that in the foyer, in the entrance to the house. This was simple. It was inexpensive. We just put up a curtain rod. Then I started searching online for a backdrop that would be vibrant and it wouldn't wrinkle, and it could really serve as a kind of an exciting invitation to the rest of the house, and found this shibori pattern tablecloth. So it's already hemmed on the sides because it's a tablecloth. It's a nice heavy sateen cotton. I made a rod pocket at the top, and that is the backdrop. I wanted something really funky and interesting and kind of unusual as a table. And I happen to like turned legs. You can see can you see these turned legs, or are the faces? Can you see these turned legs? Okay, these legs with the bulbous shapes, these are called Bailey turned legs. I couldn't find a console table with these legs, but I finally found a company in North Carolina called the Carolina Leg Company that does nothing but make table and chair legs. These were pine. I ordered these legs and then found a contractor or a carpenter to design a table using these legs. And this is the result. I asked him to stain it the legs of the table a very dark color because I wanted to pick up the black accents in this marble floor. The sculptures are from eBay. Very accessible, affordable collectibles. Sorry, guys, I automatically bumped it. But collecting sculpture is not out of reach. There's all the sculptures in my house actually were made, almost all of them were made by the same artist in California. And then these little pieces are brass pieces that I inherited from my grandmother. But it's that simple. Then we go to the den, and this is the before. The curtains dated from before my parents moved into the house in the late 90s. I really needed to brainstorm to come up with ideas for this room. I couldn't even think of a color for the walls. It was pretty challenging. But this is the after picture for the den. I'm taking advantage of this west-facing window and this south-facing window. So I get lots of natural light. I brought these are silk plants. It still works. We have such a natural craving for contact with the natural world that even a fake plant helps to give us some sense of comfort. So this is as low maintenance as it can be, a silk ficus and a silk ivy plant. And I've got greenery in the room. What I like to do in a room is stand in the doorway and look to the diagonal corner that I see from the doorway, and that is this corner. Put something arresting, something eye-catching in that corner, and then as I draw the line of sight to that corner, I'm placing things along that line of sight that the eye sweeps up in its journey to the corner. So here we've got the Mark Rothko reproduction. We've got sculptures and glass. The glass came from eBay. Sculpture came from eBay in the corner. We've got this ikat patterned accent pillow that's I positioned deliberately because it hits you right, this design hits you right in the eye. The table is glass because, of course, the eye passes through it. It reflects light, but it also doesn't block vision, so that as you're drawing the eye into the corner, your vision is not blocked by the table. A wooden table would not have accomplished this. This is a velvet pillow. We've got oxytocin receptors in our fingertips, and just the touch of velvet elicits feelings of comfort. So texture is very important. What I wanted was a room with natural light, with comforting elements, with comforting textures, where I could sit and write and read and create for hours without eye strain and without feeling fidgety. I wanted something that was both comforting and stimulating at the same time. I didn't want so much comfort that I was going to fall asleep every time I walked into the room, but I didn't want to have so much stimulation that I'd be agitated. So it's the combination that I was aiming for. This is one of the elements in the den. It is a screen that I picked up at the antique store many, many years ago. And it's really made of sheet music, hundreds of years old. At least each of these sheets is at least 100 years old. Some of them have inscriptions, and some enterprising, creative person just decided to make a collage on a screen. And I picked this up for about 20 bucks and is now hanging on the wall in the den. And what I love about it is that it's not something you expect. It's incongruous and it's fun. Now we go to the room that's on the other side of that wall in the foyer, which was called the atrium. And this is how it had been decorated. I find this floor a little bit too serious for the floral porch furniture. And wanted to take down the lattice work and declutter the mantle. I found that after my experience as a caregiver, I had felt so overwhelmed that having a sense of control and order was very satisfying to me. So if anything at this point, I'm a little on the minimalist side. I don't like just sticking things on a table, collecting things that don't serve any individual purpose. And so this is the kind of thing, this collection that you see on the mantle is something that I find a little agitating. But a lot of this is just about regaining a sense of control over my life. So here is the after version of the atrium, and you see the mantle is much cleaner. The little sofas I have here are actually love seats because I needed to keep the furniture very small. This room, this atrium, functions as a thoroughfare connecting as a kind of the hub of connecting several other rooms in the house. So there's a lot of foot traffic that comes through this room. I did not want to have to fuss and worry over a big rug in this room. So I kept most of the floor bare. And here's another Rothko. Another painting by Mark Rothko. Now here was the living room. Now, Beth, do we have any questions right now?
Yes, I have one question.
Yes.
From Marlene. Her first question, I actually have two questions. So Marlene is asking, specific to her experience, she currently moved into well, 5 years ago, moved into a smaller one-level home to make it
Yes.
easier to care for her husband with PD. It has an open floor plan with combined, kitchen, dining room, and living rooms.
Yes.
She's really come to disdain this configuration and really would love to have some ideas around redesigning it, not necessarily remodeling the room, but to redesign.
Yes.
Marlene,
Yes.
if you wanted to
Can
unmute.
I'm
right now.
guessing one of Marlene's concerns about the open floor plan is that there's no privacy and the noise
says
travels
yes.
from room to room. Is that?
Marlene, would you like to unmute yourself and let me see, I might be able to do that for you.
Hi, Marlene.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. The privacy, yeah, the noise, the smells, it's just a mishmash of stuff. Yeah, it just, yeah, it just is too much going on everywhere, and you can't get away from any of it.
Yeah, and you as a caregiver, need privacy. I mean, that's
Right,
part of taking care of yourself.
right, right.
A lot of people with unassociated with PD or caregiving are making the same comments about an open floor plan. The smells, the noises, the lack of privacy. Also the fact that if there's a mess in the kitchen, everybody on the floor can see it.
Right.
You might think about privacy screens, and depending on how much you want to invest in some correction, you can go as far as having somebody build screens that might be made of glass, what do you call them? Glass bricks, but there's a name for it. You know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about?
yeah, glass block.
Glass block.
Yeah.
Glass block. Somebody, if you know somebody handy or you'd like to invest in this, build a glass block wall that goes from floor almost to ceiling. That might provide some. If you want less expensive solutions, you can look on Pinterest for, say, Japanese screens that people have used for hundreds of years in their own homes. Just simple, inexpensive screens that you might find at IKEA. They would simply give you at least a visual block. They wouldn't block out all the noise. They wouldn't block out all the smells, but there would be some sense of a separation between spaces, living spaces. But I would think if I had an open floor plan that exposed my kitchen and anybody walking through the front door would see the unwashed dishes next to the sink because I hadn't kept up with that, that morning, I would definitely want to put screens around the kitchen area. I mean, you don't want, because having to have every aspect of your space clean and presentable at all times just adds stress to you. You don't need that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Do you ever use Pinterest?
I have used it, yes.
I think you can find some brilliant ideas on Pinterest. Just
Okay.
type in screen or privacy
Okay.
screen.
Okay,
Good.
good idea.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
question.
One more question from Lauren, asking, was it difficult emotionally to make these changes to the space that your parents lived in?
Wonderful question. I was determined not to knock down walls in the house. My ambition was never to erase traces of my parents. I wanted to honor them. As I refreshed my life and recharged, that meant identifying the best of what they left behind and celebrating it. But it also meant, and I mentioned that my sister and I waded through the the contents of the house for well over a year. Well over a year. Thank God for Vietnam veterans that picks up at the door. Bless them. Um, I would max out on the number of boxes that they could pick up in one pickup. I mean, there was so much going out the door. It was incredible. But one of the benefits of doing that was that we were sorting through our parents' history and our family history. And it was because the last years of our parents' lives were so sad in many ways, but joyful in others. It was really a relief to be able to reacquaint ourselves with the whole of their lives. So that part of the renovation, which also involved decluttering, was actually very therapeutic. But there are many, many aspects of the house, furniture and china and all kinds of things that are really celebrations of our parents' lives, and it has been a joy to preserve them.
Thank you. No more questions at this time.
Okay. Good questions. This was the living room before. As I say, I don't really enjoy seeing big collections of things on tables. And this is kind of a very traditional way to store little family photos, but it also means it's difficult to dust. And it just looks like clutter. And again, to the point of that, I like to stand in a doorway and look towards the diagonal corner and put something arresting in that corner, something that draws the eye. Unfortunately, what was in that corner was this clutter. So I wanted to replace that with something that looked more controlled and orderly. This was a cabinet that we already had in the house. This was a convex mirror that had absolutely overpowered the dining room. It's not a particularly beautiful one, it's just old. But this room has such high ceilings and the scope is so big that it does not dominate this living room, and I was able to put it up high so it draws the eye and lifts the eye. But again, I'm using the same trick that I used in the den. Your eye is being pulled into that diagonal corner and sweeping up things along the way. I found this salmon-colored armchair in the basement of the house. It had been there for decades. I suspect I know which previous owner had it upholstered because her standards were so high. So it's in beautiful condition. So I brought that up. Um, my parents had covered a porch area on this side of the house. You can see this. It's now glassed in with a roof, but the effect of it's a very useful porch now. It's a patio, but the effect of it was to block some of the light that had streamed in through these windows. So my job was to bring more light into the room. I did that by putting in love seats with this ikat pattern with a lot of white in it. These rugs have blue and green, but also little splashes of orange. So they're kind of lively and bright. And then I put a big mirror that came from my previous house over the fireplace to reflect. And the fireplace is on, the mantle is on this side of the room, to reflect any light that did come through these windows and bring more light into the room. I want to mention, though, this is a handy thing to know as when we get older. This white sofa or ivory colored sofa came with mid-century modern legs, and I love this sofa, and I love these gently flared armrests, but the legs didn't work, and we realized that the legs could be unscrewed and replaced. When I went online looking for new sofa legs, I discovered that of all entities, Amazon carries them. And they carry sofa and chair legs in different heights so that you can simply screw them. Yes, Beth.
Yvonne was, wanted to compliment the chandelier. She said it's magnificent.
Oh,
But
thank you.
wanted to know if you found the columns
Thank you.
challenging. She also
I
wanted to
think-
know if you found the columns challenging to work around.
No, I mean, wonderful, very observant. Yes, this chandelier has a mate on the other side of the room. I think I really, really like the chandeliers. The columns are not challenging to work around. And it's interesting. I mean, they do obscure this little painting behind, but I've never found them to be any kind of visual distraction. What I was saying, but thank you for the compliment. It's a good thing to know that you can change the height of table legs or the style of chair and sofa legs simply by unscrewing them, because as we get older, we may reach a point where it's difficult to get out of a sofa or a chair, or our loved one has difficulty getting out of a sofa or a chair, and simply raising the height so simply and affordably can prevent falls and a lot of discomfort and embarrassment. Now, this is, Christine is very fond of this chair. We call it the lion chair. It had been in my grandmother's house, and I'd loved it since I was little. And over the years, though, it had fallen on hard times. It hadn't been cared for very well, and you can see the bottom of it is falling out. And my sister chose the chair in the selection process because of the way we were rotating our choices, so I missed out on it. But a few weeks later, she called and wanted to trade the chair for something else, thinking that this wasn't really worth keeping. And I was quite pleased. And I found an upholsterer from the former Yugoslavia who had been doing this work for generations, and this is what he did with the chair. So Christine tells me that if my lion chair ever disappears, I should immediately suspect her. Now, do you all know anything about fabric, upholstery fabric, or I just want to point out what I learned in the process, because I did not know this, is that fabric used for upholstery is tested for its durability by something called the Weizenbeek method, which uses a machine to rub on the fabric and test its wear and tear over a certain number of rubs. This fabric is rated 15,000 double rubs, because the machine double rubs, which makes it suitable for light to moderate use. But you always want to look at the rub count, they call it, of upholstery fabric before you choose it, so you don't waste your money or buy fabric that's too fragile for its intended use. And this was my mom's piano, which I wanted very much to keep in the house because she was incredibly gifted, and I'm so happy to have it here. Now, excuse the mess. This is the kitchen. This is the before picture of the kitchen. My sister and I were sorting through boxes and things to get ready to donate them. But I took this picture at the time, long before I had the idea to write the book, because I was uploading the picture onto the Benjamin Moore website to think about paint colors. So when it came time to write the book, I realized I had a before picture of this kitchen, but it's quite messy. You see a lot of white in this kitchen. I wanted something a little more exciting. And I also wanted, with my newfound drive to be relieved of clutter, I wanted the island in its new incarnation not to function as a giant junk drawer or junk tray, but to have everything organized. And if I had disorganized items, at least they'd be in a basket with a cover. So this is the result. Can everybody see this? Now, I kept my mom's Corian countertop, which had been installed 25 years before, and it was in flawless condition. This is one of the things that I was really delighted not to change, because I'm so happy that it was plain, it was classic. I found that I really enjoy keeping the big items classic and getting bolder and more experimental with the little items, because the big items, if I get experimental with the big items, they might be too trendy to really survive for a few years without looking strange. So when there's something expensive, I mean, assuming that I didn't replace this countertop, if I had to replace it, I would have gone with something just like this. Now you see an accent wall. The clock is, because the eye is drawn to this accent wall. These are vinyl tiles here over the refrigerator. Not real tiles. These are vinyl tiles. I didn't have to do anything expensive. I put up the pendant lights, and we've got these little baskets with covers. Yes, Beth.
This is actually my question.
Yes.
The space above the refrigerator,
Yes.
Was that just open space and you wanted to address that emptiness between the cabinet and the refrigerator by putting those tiles there?
Unfortunately, this before picture doesn't show it, but it was a one white board. It was just solid white. And
Okay.
because I'm playing my trick again, I'm standing at the doorway from the outside of the house. And I want to pull my eye into that diagonal corner. I wanted something snappy there. And that was an easy thing to do.
It looks nice.
Thank you, thank you. And very inexpensive. And I got those vinyl, I ordered those vinyl tiles on Etsy. And I love Etsy because you build relationships with real people who really, really appreciate your business and go way out of their way to make you happy. So yeah, that was fun. Now I wanted to show you all here. This is the island. Remember, the island had been, the cupboards have been white. So I painted them this dark navy, but see the little handle? It is so easy and inexpensive to switch out drawer knobs and cabinet knobs and refresh the look of a room. This was the old cabinet knob. Sweet little thing with a flower. Now this has a little bit of edge. But Etsy, I mean, that's there are things that make a huge difference that only cost a few dollars and require no DIY skills whatsoever. Just a screwdriver.
I think that's important as just a comment, that a lot of times all of us probably look at different designs and in magazines and things look lovely and we want to do something different with our space because we know
Yep.
it would be good for us mentally and you know, just to feel comfortable. And so many things just feel so out of reach.
Yes.
And so the idea that just something like changing the hardware on a cabinet, which it doesn't require any skill, just picking out some new hardware and it can transform a space.
Yes. And you're home with your loved one and you don't even have time to get out of the house and go shopping. You do it online. It is so easy. I mean, the three things that we've looked at so far that really, really jump out as easy, inexpensive solutions are painting the little back wall of your bookshelves, as I did in the den with the aqua color, making everything on all the objects on those shelves pop, the vinyl tiles, and the hardware. All easy and inexpensive and require very little skill. I mean, I've been dazzled by some of these DIY people on YouTube, and no, I could never do that. And gosh, I mean, it's aspirational. It's just not doable for most people I know. It's no fun to feel discouraged that you're stuck. One of the ways that I organized stuff was with these baskets and this little wooden apothecary chest that I got on eBay. So this might have paper clips, binder clips, rubber bands, screwdriver. But I always know where everything is. But it's not assaulting my eyes every time and anybody else's eyes every time we walk in to the kitchen. Here's another thing I did to kind of put things out of the line of vision. This is a towel bar that I have on. You see this far side of the island? So here's the door to the kitchen. This is a towel bar, so it keeps any dirty dish towels out of sight. Marlene, that's another nice thing. You don't have to worry about people seeing your dish towels. Certainly not people coming through the front door. this is a guest room. And wanted to give it, I wanted to make it a fun place for people to just come and stay, and just feel like they were pampered. A little bit like a hotel, but Pinterest came helped me come up with ideas, and here it is. Here's that room afterward. This is a picture that I inherited from my grandmother, which I've always loved, pink chrysanthemums. It comes from, I think this came back from Japan. An accent pillow that I ordered on Etsy. Wicker shades, because I'm bringing natural fiber into the room, because it's soothing. It's our connection to nature. This is a waffle weave bedspread, a Moroccan blanket, but the waffle weave is also in these curtains on a larger scale. And this weird little light fixture came from Target. Yes.
Do you have a preference or a recommendation on which room of the house could potentially be the most beneficial for a caregiver to focus on as far as
Yes.
making that
Yes.
space?
We're coming
well
up to it.
into the- Oh, okay.
We are coming up to it. Okay. But do you want me to jump to it, or we're almost
well,
there.
We're getting towards our last window of time. We have a little bit of flexibility if people want to stick around for a few more minutes. So I just wanted to
Oh,
bring.
okay. Let's go up to that room. Okay. This room is specifically for self-care. Specifically for self-care. And it's not even in the book. I renovated this room after I published the book. It has skylights, it has a big glass door and a smaller door, but lots and lots of natural light. Because we live in an area where we live in an area where we've got winters with some short, dark days, I wanted to create a room with a lot of natural light where I could exercise and read and take advantage of natural light. The reason this is important is that our circadian rhythms are tied to light, to natural light. So I don't know about you all, but during the winter, if I don't get enough natural light, I might feel like napping for hours in the day, or I might feel groggy at 5 o'clock in the evening. It saps my energy, but the reason for it is that my brain is tied to natural light, as ours is, and my brain is getting messages that it's nighttime when it's really only the middle of the afternoon. So taking advantage of a room with natural light was my ambition, where I could read, where I could exercise, and this is the room after the renovation. So nice cushy place where I can read. And I put my exercise equipment in the room, so I can work out every day. But this room, in answer to your question, Beth, was it Beth or Lauren asking the question?
It did.
Beth,
Thank
it
you.
was Beth. In answer to your question, if a caregiver is looking for a room that can actually help to sustain that caregiver through the stresses of caregiving and long winters and anything else that comes along, zero in on a room with natural light and exploit that.
Thank you. That's what I was curious of, because,
Yeah.
not, if you don't have the space for a designated self-care area,
Yeah,
maybe maybe it's the bedroom where you want to
Yes.
get your best sleep.
Yeah.
Or I like what you're saying, a room that has natural light. Which room
Yes.
has the most natural light?
Yes, yes. Or it could even be your glassed-in patio, weather permitting. But I think a lot of us have the experience of wondering why all we want to do is sit around watching Netflix in the winter, and why we just want to Netflix and napping. And it's not a character flaw. It's about the way our brains are wired to be attuned to natural light, the rhythms of natural light. Okay, should we stop?
No, I think we started a few moments later, so as long as everyone's okay, I think if you can go back to where you were, if you'd like to continue, or if
Okay.
you would like to
Okay.
open it to open questions.
Yes.
I would say we have about 10 more minutes.
Oh, good, because I think this works out perfectly. Okay, so we had the bedroom. Then we have the little galley kitchen. Does anybody have a galley kitchen at home? Okay, galley kitchens. Okay, galley kitchens are really challenging because they have this fixed layout. You've got the two rows of cupboards and maybe big appliances facing each other, and then an aisleway in between, and then maybe a window, maybe a door, maybe an adjacent room on the end. But they tend to be small and challenging from a design standpoint. This is where Pinterest really rescued me, because I started looking at galley kitchens on Pinterest and I identified the ones that worked beautifully and realized that all the ones that I thought worked had certain things in common. They took advantage of the opposite wall to draw the eye, maybe with bright colors, maybe with a brightly painted door, or here I'm using a plant, but there was always something to pull the eye. There was a rug that maybe a bold runner rug on the floor, maybe pendant lights on the ceiling. And the eye is to be, again, you're pulling the eye in the direction that you choose. You're pulling, in this case, you're pulling it to this opposite wall. So you're putting interesting things on that wall and giving the room some cohesion. The benefit of it is that, I mean, the fun part about it is you take this fixed layout that feels like a limitation and you've turned it into an asset, and that's kind of satisfying. And here, the little glass collection in the corner all came from eBay. So now I have the accent pillows in the sunroom. Now, summarizing, you tell me, Beth, you tell me when we've got to stop.
All right, you're good.
Okay. Summarizing. Tips for budget-friendly design choices. eBay, Etsy, or Apt Deco, Poshmark, and thrift stores. Choose classic designs for big expenses, and if you want to get adventurous, which is important, say direct your adventures to the little things that are versatile, like accent pillows, things that you can move around, because you should expect, as you pursue your design journey, that you're becoming more and more confident, your eye is becoming more discerning, you're just becoming stronger, and your tastes are going to change, and you're going to become more ambitious. You should have the freedom to grow and move something from one room to another. Very difficult thing to do if you've just spent a lot of money on something big that's immovable and you've outgrown it. Use free services extravagantly. That's Pinterest, Benjamin Moore website. there are 3 companies that I've found where you can try out rugs. You upload a picture of your room on the website, and you can experiment with hundreds of rugs, seeing how they would look in your room. I don't know about you, I really don't like ordering a rug, that huge item, and finding that it doesn't work for a room, and then I've got to figure out how to return it at probably at my expense, and or what to do with it. It's just no fun, and you can completely circumvent that by going to any of those websites. Changing drawer knobs and pulls, vinyl tiles, painting interior, back wall of bookshelves, and taking stock of what you have and like, and build rooms around those elements. Now, before we go, I want to say, if I had it to do over again, and I was still caregiving, I would understand that I should do everything I could not to isolate myself, because isolation is the enemy. It's toxic. That's where you're prone to depression and all the things that that can teach you that you shouldn't be around people. Just make sure that however you do it, you stay in contact with other human beings. You need other human beings. But also to tend to your 4 non-negotiable needs that will help you prevent burnout, and they are your sleep, your good nutrition, your enriched environment that includes social support, and regular aerobic exercise, say in your room with your exercise bike or your weights or whatever it is, your rowing machine. What I found, because I had so little control over my time, was that I was neglecting one or all of these things. But if I had to do it again, I would have stacked activities so that I could meet more than one need at once. Say, call a friend and take a walk together, and the social support and the exercise, or listen to a book, audio book as I took a walk. So intellectual stimulation and exercise, but you got to get creative, because these 4 needs are not negotiable. You cannot neglect them without paying a price. About family members, if you're the sibling, they are in the habit of expecting to carry the lion's share of responsibilities for parents and other family members, and it's just always been kind of the family culture. Speak up and be specific about what you need from them, and make it, you might even have to do a little of their creative thinking and say, how about if you take care of the grocery shopping online by ordering on Whole Foods and having just don't let them think that what's happening to you is not important. They're going to be focused on the parents and on the parents' acute needs, and that is going to get attention that and they don't mean not to be paying attention. They're always going to be looking at the latest emergency. If we want to age in place, what are some of the changes we can make to our homes now? Design your home so you can stay safe. Remove the clutter so you don't trip over it organize all the information related to your household. If you feel safe doing this, set up automatic bill payments with trusted vendors. Install toxic gas detectors, which you can order easily online. They cost about $40. If you've got a gas dryer, clothes dryer, make sure you've got one, just as one example, make sure you have one in your laundry room. Vinyl floor coverings are a good idea because it's impossible to trip over them as you might over the corner of a rug. Raise height of chairs and tables and legs. And set up a regular servicing of things like your rain gutters, your heating, and your cooling systems so that you don't forget.
Question.
Are there any questions?
Last question. Marlene
Yeah.
asked if you could explain your note there about the dark kitchen island.
Ah, you were paying attention. If at some point your vision starts to deteriorate, a dark kitchen island is going to help keep you from banging into it. From what I've seen working in my previous in a previous volunteer capacity, falls are life-changing for elderly people. A fall can be the difference between being able to stay in your house and having to leave your house and go to a facility that you hadn't wanted to go to. So anticipate not being able to see things as clearly as you get older and paint things that you might bump into a dark color if appropriate. Also think about ramps and hand railings in your house. Any
Well,
other questions?
I don't think so, but I think that was a wonderful place for us to wrap this first session. And I have to say, this was fantastic. I really
you.
learned a lot, enjoyed it. I feel like there's so many things that I can use in my own life
Thank you.
to live better and to make some good choices. So thank you so much, Annie. I
Thank you.
wanted to remind everyone that there will be a second session this time next week. There will be a reminder email just so that you can have it at the top of your inbox and quickly click the join link. So look out for that. And if you have other questions that come up between now and then, we can definitely address those in the next session.
That would be excellent. That would be excellent. Or if you make any design changes to your house.
Yeah,
It'd be fun to hear about them.
agreed. And again, we are recording this, so this recording will be made available very soon. You will get notified when it is available to watch. So with that, I think I'll end this webinar, but I want to thank everyone for attending, especially for Annie for all of your wonderful knowledge. And this book is fantastic. So I'm really excited to hear it. It's neat to read it, but also to hear from you directly going through the spaces. So thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. We'll hopefully see everyone next week.
Bye.
Bye.